The topic of this workshop is on tradition 5 through 8, and our speakers are Dan and Roman. Our first speaker will be Dan.
Hey everybody, I'm Dan and I'm an addict. Hey. Man, I'm grateful to be here tonight. And Romer has helped me out by letting me do 5 and 6. They're kind of the easier ones to do, I guess. And of course we know what 5 is, and that is, each group has but one primary purpose, and that is to carry the message to the addict who still suffers. I don't know about y'all, but when I think about that and I think about carrying the message, every time anybody asks me to speak anywhere, I am always humbled by that, because I'm like, the message is real precious, and it's life-saving, and I get emotional about it, because I think each and every one of us knows when we heard the message. It's usually at a time when we're low in our lives and we're desperate, and I was bewildered, man. I just didn't know if recovery would work for me, man. I mean, I'd been in and out so much. I'd had some time at one time and had some years, and I'd gone back out, and I felt like I had, destroyed something that was sacred and that I could never get back here. And I like our new literature, man. I've been reading our new literature, and it just lays it out really good, how these traditions can apply in our life as an individual and also as a group. Now, this deals with it kind of on a group. The fifth tradition states specifically that the group, it is our job as a group to carry the message, to create that atmosphere of recovery, so that newcomer comes in there bewildered and hurting, can feel that message of empathy, which is so important to that newcomer that comes in, man. I mean, they don't even know. You think about what you were looking for when you walked in. I mean, I was thinking, first meeting I came to, all I can tell you is when I walked out of there, I was a little freaked out, because I felt like those folks had been reading my mail. They knew how I felt. And I thought I was the only one that thought like that, the only one that felt like that. And I said, something, these people, they maybe I got some hope, because I could identify, because, we isolate ourselves. We feel different. We don't think anybody thinks like we do. And then you realize, you hang around a bunch of us, you realize everybody's about as crazy, and, we're all just trying to get another day, and it still took some time for me to hear the message. And our literature here says, because sometimes I don't think I hear stuff. It just kind of comes in my head, but I don't really internalize it. I think it takes some time to internalize this thing. And our literature right here says, one thing about the fifth tradition is it restores purpose to our life. I like that. When we're out there using, man, we're just kind of, we have no rudder. We're just, no matter where the wind goes, we just kind of are there. But when we get in here, all of a sudden I had a purpose in my life. And you come to these conventions and you see all these people a whole lot different than my home group, the 20, 30 people in your home group or at different groups in your area. You come here, you feel like you're part of something a whole lot bigger and just worldwide. And it's this message that, a lot of us don't know. I mean, I didn't know that this existed. See? And sometimes I think that the message is, it's so much more, it's almost unspoken. Now, for me on a personal level, one of the things I saw when I was really down, I'll tell you a little bit, one of my best friends that I'd known for years had died. He had overdosed and died. This is a guy I knew back in the 80s, and it was more, we did more than drink a cup of coffee together. We lived together. We got clean together back in the 80s. I'd gone back out and relapsed and was in and out, and he was doing the same thing, and then I heard he had died. Then I decided I'm going to quit using, and I go on a cruise. Ain't that smart? So I'm on a cruise, dope sick, right? Everybody's drinking, having a good time. But you want to know something, man? You want to know they have meetings on those cruise ships. And I went in there, and they had an itinerary under the door that said, Friends of Jimmy K meet in the library. And I went in there. And think about this. I always remember this because there was a dude with about 15 years clean. He was from Montgomery, Alabama. And, I saw him all over, and he shared with me, and I told him where I was at, that I was an old relapser, and I'm struggling with, I don't know if I can stay clean. And he shared with me on there, and all I remember, I can't remember a word he said, but I remember his eyes. I remember those eyes, and he looked so at peace, man. And I by the time I got off that cruise ship, I wanted what he had. I wanted it more than anything in this world, And I came home, and I went straight to a meeting. I got all the phone numbers of every guy in that meeting. I started calling. I knew what I had to do. I knew what I had to do to get clean, and I knew it wasn't going to be fun. I knew it was going to be rough. And I suffered a lot in the beginning. I suffered a lot. And but where I really got the hope from the message was I was at a party with a bunch of NA function, and we were there, and I heard a guy with many years share. And I can't remember what he shared about, something about losing his job, but he kind of, laid it out there. And I thought, man, if that guy can get honest and do it, maybe I can. And I remember leaving that NA function with hope that I can do that. I can get clean with this group of people. I think I can. I think I can do it, man. I can get clean. And so the first thing I did was a home group, and I had a great home group, man. I had guys in there with passion, man. We met people at the door, and we made people feel at home. You got a hug when you walked into my home group, y'all. And you know what I mean? That's what it is. It was that compassion. Even though I was scared to tell anybody my history. See, I didn't want you to know I had 11 DUIs, that I'd been through like 15 treatment centers. I didn't want you to know all that because you'd probably give up on me. But you see, it tells me in here that, we don't ever want to give up. We're never going to give up. There's nobody too far gone to qualify. It is available. This message is available to us all. And I used to always hear, if you can fog a mirror, you got a chance. See? And so these people were very principled. And when I got in trouble a few days later at this home group, I called them guys on that sheet of paper, on that meeting list that they handed me. I called those fellas, and they all had jobs. I didn't. And they all had jobs, and they didn't call me back. And I'm like, yeah, right. And then, a few minutes later, I checked my phone. Every one of those guys had called me back. Do you know what kind of message that was to me? That message was huge. And I said, NA's the fellowship for me. Those guys called me back. They didn't know me from Adam. They just knew I was a suffering addict trying to get another day, And then I went in and that's where I got me a sponsor. And the home group, man, the group became real important to me. And I wanted to be a part of that group, And I remember a girl celebrating her birthday. She let me get up and we hand out literature instead of a cake. You give out literature at the birthday celebration. And she asked me to do that. Man, that was huge. I felt a part of. I was like, me, Dan, me? I'm the only one named Dan in the room, So I'm like, oh, really, me? And I got up, man, I felt a part of, It's those little things sometimes, I think, that carry the message. It's not always, it's just that atmosphere, that we understand. And that, if I can do it, you can do it. If you can do it, she can do it. That's the thing. Sometimes I think the language, it's not even spoken. It's just that kind of looking in the eyes, the eyes are the windows to the soul, And we come in here and we get together. Now, unity is really big in this. When you got I know we don't always get along. And what do they say? I love everybody in recovery, but I ain't got to like them. And that's for sure. But, we do get along because it's this message we know is more important than we are. It's more important, man. And so we got to get along to a certain degree so that we can carry the message to the people out there. It was, I'm so grateful for my predecessors who struggled in their early days. I was around when there wasn't much NA in the area, and we all had to go to AA. And I'm grateful for Alcoholics Anonymous. I really am. But, my issue is not a substance. It is a disease. It's more profound than that. And thank God for Narcotics Anonymous. So they clarify it real well in the literature. And we've got the best literature, y'all. And literature carries to me a great message about, it's always true. Sometimes in meetings you can hear some BS sometimes, stuff that may not always be true. But you can always look it up here in the literature. There's just so many aspects of, the message. And it says here, there's always an addict who's dying to hear the NA message. I got to remember that when I walk out of here sometimes, and you usually don't see me wear T-shirts and stuff, NA stuff. I'm a little worried that I might start acting a fool and somebody might think that's in the NA, we got to be careful. But I know that it's the message sometimes. I've always heard, I might be the only basic text somebody ever sees. It's in the way we act. It's in the way, that's how we carry ourselves, man. We carry ourselves. We go from a mess to a message. That's what they told me. We can go, and it's through the 12 steps of recovery, and the fellowship, this community of recovering people, and we got to go out there into the world and spread that goodwill. See? And when we go out, I carry the message a lot of times, because it breaks the bonds of that self-centeredness inside of me. There's many ways to carry the message. There's service, and we all know about service. Of course, at the home group, it is probably the most important level. But through that service of others and helping others and giving that phone number out, I'm breaking the bonds of self-centeredness, which is the core of my disease. It's a constant battle, the self-centeredness monster. And I can tell. A lot of times, I'll just call people up and say, hey, what's going on, man? That guy had surgery. I do it, not because I'm really that concerned about that guy, is I'm trying to break the bonds of self-centeredness. I am concerned, but they tell me that's how I do it. I carry the message. I show up to my home group. I become a part of it. I come to the area and do service at the group. You make the coffee, you carry the message. There's so many ways. Not everybody is a wonderful speaker. Not everybody has got the gift of gab, And everybody wants to be convention speakers where you're rolling in, keep them rolling in there. Like I was talking to Cecil before the meeting, and I said, man, the message is really an empathy that comes from the heart, man. And if God ain't speaking through you, ain't nobody listening anyway. I used to get in there and always worry about what to say and how to say it and how it's coming. Man, it's really, when you do what you're supposed to do and you follow this fellowship, you will become a walking, talking message. I know a bunch of them. You will become that message. See? And it's just insane how this program can transform your life. It's what I was looking for all my life. I got a purpose today. Man. I sponsor a young guy, and he struggled this morning. And I was all in my head about coming down here. It's my first workshop. But that guy, man, he's like, I thought about doing some dope. I got to go to the doctor. I got an issue because of my consequence of my addiction. He's barely got 60 days. And he says, I drove by the dope man's house today. I ain't got no problems, y'all. I ain't got no problems. See, I got high-class problems. I got to help that young man get another day. I got to help him. I got to call him. And I thought about him, and I thought, man, I need to just shoot him a text, see how he's doing later today. See, because I'll get all up in my head thinking about me. Thinking about me, man. That's the way I say I got a radio station in my head. WDAN, all day and all the time. And that's the way it is. And when you work your steps and you begin to have that awakening of the Spirit, what I noticed is that goes away. I can actually be concerned with Lisa. We all are suffering addicts. I'm just not suffering much anymore, but my time's coming. My sponsor's going through a lot right now. He's going through it tough. The guy that helped carry the message to me, he's suffering. it ain't always that newcomer. And, and trying to find new ways to carry the message. There's so many ways. The message, y'all, to me, it's there. You got to give it no matter what you do. You got to carry that message. It's the same message. I try to give it to everybody the same way. Nobody gets a different message. It's the same. What is the message? That an addict, any addict, can lose the desire to use and find a new way to live. I looked it up on Google. You know, you can look it up on Google. I Googled, what is the NA message? And that's what they said. And I went, all right. Google's got it right. Even Wikipedia had it. And that was cool, man. You know, that we can recover. How much time? I got 4 minutes. All right, cool. I was a little concerned. And then we'll go over here to tradition 6, which is, the affiliation, the diversion. What is it? Y'all, I can't see. I'm about blind. But if y'all don't have this book right here, you gotta have it. This is really good. The way they break it down, all this, the new, okay, I know. But there was a few things in tradition 6 that I wanted to go over. Kind of in the beginning, I like these little paragraphs up here. It says, being human, we will wander off course. We don't always notice when we're wandering. This is the great challenge for many of us in practicing meditation or even sitting in a meeting. Just staying in our seat without checking our phone or creating a side conversation can be surprisingly difficult, especially when we were having feelings we'd rather avoid. Tradition 6 suggests the things that divert us are mostly those we use to feed self-obsession. When we let go of the illusion that things outside ourselves will fill that empty place inside, we can stop distorting tools into weapons we turn to ourselves. What this does to me, basically, it helps us. It says that there's things that will distract us from our primary purpose. It seems like a lot of the other traditions stop us from destroying ourselves or destroying this movement or destroying or tearing up or distorting the message. They want to keep it just a clear message and keep it simple, so that we won't get it confused with anything. We want to do one thing and do it right. So we simplify it. So, we know money complicates anything. We get money or prestige. We all want to look good, sound good. Power, property, prestige, they tell us. So we have to remember that. We have to remember that we're kind of there's something that has to motivate us, and it is the message. This primary purpose, primary being important. That important message that we have, and we gotta protect ourselves from lending the name. A lot of people want to dovetail onto NA and cash in and start a treatment center and get wealthy with this. But we know that this is really something. To me, I get humbled about it. I humble about what Narcotics Anonymous can do. I think we would destroy it if all of a sudden it became about money. And so what we got to do is it says the things we should do, we should not, why should we, it says what is it? We don't use listener speakers. Yeah, that's it. That what it does is help us keep other people from getting in we are examples of our program, a simple, clear message, delivered honesty, and without any confusion or controversy. That's what we got to remember. And that will save lives. That will save lives. So that's all I got on those two, y'all. Thanks for letting me share.
Our next speaker is Romer on tradition 7 and 8.
I'm Romer. I'm a recovering addict.
Hey, Romer.
For me, I remember being on Ponce de Leon in Atlanta. And I saw these people from these churches. They were selling raffle tickets and stuff like this for the church and everything, you know. And I was in the middle of my addiction. And boy, they gave me a bright idea. So I went and had me something printed up. But I stood by the liquor store. And I was selling them for $10 a wop. I made a good killing. You know, I was always trying to figure out ways how to get something for nothing, you know, or some kind of way to support my addiction. And I was using people, places, and things to make that happen. And that became a way of life for me. My addiction went a long time, probably longer than some folks in here been alive. And so I practiced that, and I got to be a professional at that. I remember in Charleston, South Carolina, they gave me a nickname of International Fake-Out Artist. Because I would come up with some way to take you for a ride and not your money. I remember a guy in my hometown, I hadn't seen him for 5 or 6 years, and he walked up to me, he said, "Hey man," let me hold $5. I said, "Well, I want to give you $5 for it." He said, "'Cause you owe it to me." He said, "Last time I saw you, you asked me to let you hold $5, and that was 9 years ago. You told me you'd be right back." He was waiting that long to get them $5. So when I got here, they started talking about being self-supporting through your own contributions. And to be able to do that, you have to be desperate. You know, Narcotics Anonymous, for me, by the time I got here, this time, it was a life, my life was on the line. You know, I was at that point where they talk about this jail, institution, and death, and I've been through all that stuff, and I'm at the point now where I'm sure I'm gonna die. I've already died spiritually and I've died mentally, but if you ever seen the skull with the crossbone on a potash can, that's how I looked when I got here. And I have some folks who remind me that who first saw me when I first came, that's what I reminded them of. So that's how I got the description. And so I wanted this really, really, really bad. And I went in full tilt. I mean, I didn't have any qualms, any doubts about whether or not I wanted to stay clean and don't use it anymore. You know, that life-giving message that he was talking about, I heard it, and it gave me some hope. And that hope grew. And that I wanted to do whatever this program said I needed to do in order for me to stay clean, in order for me to have a new way of life. The most wonderful thing about the new book, if y'all ain't got it, like you're saying, you might want to get one. It's pretty interesting reading, but remember now, they say the problem with literature is interpretation. Mm-hmm. So I've been using this other stuff for 30 years. So this came out a couple months ago. So it's written eloquently. You know what I mean? It's almost poetic. That's the way it's written.
You understand?
Yeah. But you have to remember, these was a group of folks that sit around with editors and everything and made this poetic book. But remember now, it's the spirit of our traditions. That's what I like about it. It's called the guiding principles. The spirit of our traditions. So there's a spiritual nature to the traditions. Well, we knew that anyway. You remember, most of our literature always come from us. You know, it's a book written by addicts for addicts. So this was too. They just got all the folks together, but the editors, they're real good, man. They put this thing in now. It makes you love it, you know? Mm-hmm. Even when these books came out, before we had this book, they said the cry for literature was so strong. So putting all myself in this program and knowing that my life was on the line, I was very serious in the beginning. I didn't smile for probably 5, 6 years. I mean, and I went to meetings with a determination that was so strong. I mean, I went in storms, and I was walking. I ain't had no vehicle back then. You know, I don't went all the way to walk. You know, I walked holes in my Stacey Adams. I ain't got nothing but one pair of pants, one pair of shoes. But when that meeting came, I had to get there. And I learned that from the folks in the room. They used to tell me what lengths are you willing to go to. And the word was, and it said, if it ain't any, then you ain't ready yet. And so at this point, I was at the end state. And so this became a way of life for me. It ain't for part-time stuff. This a 24/7 program. They tell me my disease is with me 24 hours a day. And I must practice this program of recovery 24 hours a day. I don't, when I go home and I go to sleep, that's the time when I turn my life, my will over to the care of God, absolutely. But when I open my eyes, it's like, get back, God, I got it now. You know what I mean? And that's been a dilemma that I've had to face for years. And so this book teaches me, in this program, teaches me how to practice some surrender, and get out the way, Because my way didn't work, and they told me that for years and years and years, and I always did try to do things my way. I still try sometimes now to do things my way. But I needed something to guide me. And the traditions are one of the things that guided me, especially in the program. Because, see, I was good at telling you what I thought. And that's what got me here, was my best thinking. There were some people who had some experience when I got here. And they showed me how to apply these things in my life. It was a funny thing, and I watched it change over the years, but pretty much I could be in Georgia, and we would be talking about some traditions or principles, and I could go to California, and we were talking in the same language, in the same way, and it meant the same thing no matter where I was. That's changed a little bit now. See, I know about a convention that people went out and sold raffle tickets to the public to get a TV. They win a TV so they could have a funded convention. That wasn't being self-supporting. They was getting some outside contribution. You know what I'm saying? I know some folks in some place who went out and held a public car wash. Yeah. And they had the folks to pay for the cars, and even the space they got to do it on, but that wasn't self-supporting through their own contributions. They was relying on the public to do things for this fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous. Our area in our region, we just had a discussion about that at our last region about the budget and how we got to cut back on everything and do all that because we just don't have enough money to do this, that, and the other. But most of the money, and I reminded them that a couple of years ago we didn't have any service committee, no subcommittees. We just had a region that was just meeting, but they wouldn't provide any service to the program Narcotics Anonymous. And all the services that we provide are done to help us better fulfill our primary purpose of carrying the message. And I reminded them just at the last region that who's responsible for this are the folks who created this. They say how we create service boards and committees. If we created it, then part of our responsibility is to fund it. And that goes back to the folks who created it, not the folks who's sitting up at the head of the table. That's whose budget they want to cut. But they don't realize that what they're doing is what the fellowship asked them to do. But do we support them in doing that? Are we giving up the dime? See, I recall when I got here, and I'm talking about experience on the tradition in a sense, that's a little bit different, I guess. We truly were self-supporting. When I got in service, I had 1 year clean. I had to get my own way back and forth. I didn't get no mileage. They didn't pay me no hotel fees. You understand? My gratitude for being clean was the payoff. You know what I'm saying? And I remember the first time they came up with, well, we're going to get some mileage out, and they tried to give me some money, and I was scared to take it because my conscience had been changed. Y'all know what I'm talking about? It's like, now it's like I'm stealing. You know, because y'all done instilled this thing inside of me about the spirit of these traditions and this principle, the seventh tradition, it's spiritual too. See, we had stopped relying on a higher power. You know, we had stopped relying on prayer and those things that was all we had to rely on. We didn't even know nothing about no fundraisers back then. Somebody came along and said, you know, all y'all, we ought to do something to raise some money. You know, I think somewhere I read where the world even put some literature out about they frown on us having fundraisers. Really, even though we do them, they frown on them. But because that becomes our only way of raising the funds for a lot of things. There used to be the regional convention and a couple of little things in between. We go to another state or something and do that together. Area might have an anniversary, and that was it. But now just about every group in the state having an anniversary, you know, and they hoarding up some big money. Now I'm talking about some experience. Now y'all may not like what the hell I'm saying, but I'm saying it anyway. You know, because I read in the literature where it said that each and every one of us are equally responsible for the welfare of Narcotics Anonymous. So if you sit there and you let it go on and you don't say nothing, then your life on the line. This is a life-threatening illness. Yeah, I know that you might go over that with a minimum concern, like we say, right? It's like, what do you say? Yeah, your life on the line. When you let this little bit of stuff get away, or let people get away with it, and you don't say nothing, not a word. And sometimes you lend the NA name to it, or you get diverted, or wander off course. You know, where now it ain't clear no more. Now you got to know there's somebody following us. And the literature say our only hope is to follow the example of those who have faced our dilemma and found a way out. They're our only hope. But if you see them fundraising and doing all that, guess what the newcomer gonna do? What we see, we become. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the example that we set. And then we start whining and crying when it becomes corrupt. You know, spiritually corrupt. All of a sudden, what happened to the money that was raised? Somebody gone. Gone. With the money. It happens often behind these kind of things. I'm talking about some serious stuff. I'm talking about this seventh tradition. I'm talking about how we get away from the principle, from the guiding principle that tells us this is the kind of stuff that diverts us. We still hustlers.
That's right.
I have a disease that has no known cure. You know? And when I get caught up in my own a bright idea, say, boy, look at that money over there. It's got a stagger. Wonder what I can write down in an expense since I'm on the programming committee. You know? That y'all know I spent $7,000 on such and such. But where's your receipt? I ain't got that. You know, it's like, this is how it happens sometimes, you know what I mean? You know, so somebody got to be responsible. Why not us? Why not us? You know, I have I watch the basket go around sometime, and I watch a few people don't put nothing in it. And that irks me. I know it's cheaper than dope. I spent more than that. I could put $1 every night. I just put $1 in there for 30 days for 12 months. And I still ain't touched what I did in a week. getting high.
Okay.
In a week. I mean, get honest with yourself.
Yeah.
We spent millions. Some of us been millionaires, don't even know it. Let's go back and count it up. You know, so serving tradition, right? So just take that home with you, that we're responsible. Tradition 8, we should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. Professional, counselors, lawyers, professors, doctors, you know, those are the people. That ain't who run Narcotics number. They're different. They don't live by no traditions. And even we hired some professionals, they are bound by traditions as our special workers are, who are part of us, who are bound by tradition. That's the difference between the two. One of them, they ain't bound by traditions. Those are the professionals. And the special workers, they are bound by the traditions. Some of your special workers might be folks that y'all get to do things and reimburse them or pay them for some services that they provide. They might work at some type of service center, service office, like the World Service, for instance. That's a service center. So they are professionals in some way, the CEO, the treasurer, but then you got other folks that work in there as well. They're like special workers. But they have to live by the traditions. Now, the young lady asked me if, and I go back to another tradition, I don't want to get off this one too much, but it's about lending our name to this outside enterprise stuff, right? So if you go into that other fellowship and you serve, and then you try to come over here and serve, that's an endorsement. They say we don't even use the speakers from other places. They say we're a fellowship on our respected fellowship in our own right. So we don't even, you know, they didn't even like us in the beginning. They told us to get the hell up out of here and go find y'all own fellowship. Man, that's a good enough story for me. They tell my grandma to raise me up and say, boy, where they don't want you at, don't carry your ass over there. You know what I mean? Stay on your side of the fence. So I came over here where I fit in and I belong. And there was somebody who was doing that. And they said, show me in the literature where it says that at. I say, when it talks about lending name to any other related facility outside enterprise, and you read on down, they talk about fellowships too. And that other thing is a fellowship. You know, we're a fellowship and they're a fellowship. So, and a lot of times we give them credibility when we give them respect in our meeting. We might say, well, yeah, I went to church today, and the preacher sure helped. You messed our message up now. You know, diluted it, and that, you know, some addict may die as a simple result of that. So it's real important that we live by these guiding principles. Somebody told me that principles were laws. When the police say get in, we get in. That's the law. When we tell you that you ought never, or suggest that you don't do something, we call them suggestions, but they're lawful suggestions. In other words, they've been time tested, right? That hard-won experience went to forming these traditions, man. They didn't come by easy. So they don't joke to them. It's like they're life enhancing, so that no addict seeking recovery need ever die from this disease. And the 20 minutes they gave us a piece wasn't long. What that, 14 seconds? Huh? I can talk long. I can talk long on that now.
Well, we have till 10:30.
We recognize and admire the professionals. It tells you that you need to know what the difference is, right? Now, don't single out your member and say, well, we got a doctor in the meeting. So-and-so to such and such. Even when you get the mic, we don't told you in the beginning. We don't care where you come from, how much, how little you have, you know, who you're connected with, you know. You can be a doctor and a lawyer and a president too, but if you come up in here, your name is Addict. You know what I mean? That's your name. That's your last name anyway. That's the unity of our program. So we don't single them out like that and make them more than what they are. And I'm just glad to be a part of this life-saving fellowship. All of you guys in here have had some input in my recovery in some way or another, and you don't even know it. Only if you've got hearing in your group over there, because whatever happens over there impacts the group over here. Because we all part of the fabric of the whole. I'm in one program, NA program, and we got to have some unity of purpose in that program. I need to recognize it in NA when I go to New York or Miami or right around the corner. I need to know what I'm dealing with, because I remember going into a meeting one night and they had all the chairs up, and that might have been a cooperation thing, but on the back of them with that other fellowship letters. And I swore I was in the wrong meeting, and I left. But actually it was a NA meeting, they just borrowed the chairs. Yeah, but it threw me for a loop. You know, maybe we need to have just covered them up or something, I don't know. But if I'd have been there on time, I might have known what happened. But that's all I got for right now.